Good afternoon. My name is Márton Gyöngyösi. I am Director for Political Relations with the European Christian Political Party. We are in Strasbourg in the European Parliament, and I have two guests with me, members Cristian Terheș, Member of Parliament, and Member of Parliament Ondřej Dostál, and both members of the European Christian Political Party. And we have realized that recently there has been a letter written, issued and signed by the two of you, amongst other people, to Ursula von der Leyen on the 5th of May, to be accurate, proposing to the President of the Commission to designate 2027 the European Year of Christian Heritage. Now, next year is going to be the 1700th anniversary of the Nicene Council, which the Roman Emperor Constantine, who adopted Christianity, he has convened, and he has assembled 200 bishops in Nicaea at the time to reach some kind of consensus on affairs of the Christian communities at the time, with 200 designated bishops, and that has impacted greatly on the future of Europe and on the culture and the cultural heritage of Europe. So I understand the reason why on such a very noble anniversary this initiative has been done. But as signatories of this letter, why do you feel it is important to designate 2027 as European Year of Christian Heritage? What's the reason for that?
Well, thank you so much for allowing us, I would say, to explore and develop on this topic, because it is a very, very important topic for what Europe was, what is, and what it's supposed to be. Because we cannot envision the European project without the Judeo-Christian values, and implicitly the Christian church and the Christian tradition. In 2019, when Ursula von der Leyen had the first speech in the plenary right here in Strasbourg, when she asked for our votes to be the president of the European Commission, she said, among many things, the following, and I quote, "The foundation of the European project is the Greek philosophy and the Roman law," end quote. She did not say anything about the Christian heritage and the Christian values. Now, if you look historically, the European project is not a copy of the Roman Empire, nor of the Greek society. Because in the Greek society, if we look back, we had slaves. If you were not part of the upper class, you were not even acknowledged as a human being. Okay, yeah. The only thing that you could do is fight, work, and pay taxes. That's it. Now, it was, historically speaking, it was the Christian tradition, the church, the one that emphasizing the importance of human dignity, the fact that we were all created by God equal, and on top of that, we were redeemed by Jesus with his sacrifice on the cross. We are superior, so to speak, to animals, to rocks, to whatever you want, fish, right? And this is what changed the mindset in Europe about the relationship between the governments, or the states, so to speak, between states institutions and the citizens, or the persons. Just a few days ago, we celebrated we commemorated, depends how you look at it, the Schumann's Declaration, right? Now, Schuman was a Christian believer, a Catholic believer, who envisioned that you can do a lot of good in society through politics. Nowadays, a lot of people are claiming that, all the politicians are bad and, corrupt and stuff like that. But it's not like that. Yes, politicians were the one who started wars and many injustices, but we have this example of the European project after the Second World War, where practicing Christians, politicians, were able to coming from different backgrounds, different nations that just 5 years before were killing each other. And they were able to sit around the same table exactly as we do right now, to find a way how to forgive each other, reconcile with each other, and build something that will, they hope, it will last peace in Europe for many decades, onward. And they were able to do that. And they did that because they realized that, every human being is important and is unique. And if we find a way how to commonly exploit our resources, we will not be killing each other. But everything started from this Christian idea, I would say, that every person has a unique human dignity. What is happening in Europe in the past, this is my second term here, and I could see it with my own eyes in the last 7 years, but it's been going on for the past 20, 25 years. Slowly, these values are replaced with pseudo-values, where the human dignity that it's inherited from the fact that we were created by God is replaced with a new kind of philosophy that claims that the source of our rights is not God, but the government. So if the government or the European Commission or the European Parliament, right, it's granting you certain rights, these institutions can easily take these rights away from you. So slowly we see that these God-given rights, fundamental rights as we call them in treaties and in Universal Declaration, they are slowly replaced with pseudo-rights. If you read the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, when there's a reference to humankind, there's a reference in terms of women and men. Nowadays, we see that there's no men and women anymore. Because a man who pretends to be a woman or who claims to be a woman, according to many resolutions and documents that were passed even by the majority of the members of the parliament, a man who pretends to be a woman should be acknowledged as a woman. Then what is a woman? So you see, this European project started from very, very concrete things. The Western Europe was totally destroyed. Millions of victims, Holocaust. It was an apocalyptic world, so to speak. Now, how do you build a better world after such an apocalyptic era? Because it was an apocalyptic era, if you look back, how it was. So it was these Christian politicians from France, from Germany, from Italy, that were able to sit around the same table and say, hey, we were created by the same guy, we might have our differences, but let's create something, let's come up with something where our differences will be acknowledged. This is one of the fundamentals of the European project, difference through communion through difference, so to speak, right? Unity in diversity. That's one thing. And try to come up with a system where we do business together, and if we all prosper, then we are not going to kill each other. Then you have the second motto, so to speak, peace through prosperity. It's important now to remind to the younger generations what happened back then and what was actually the foundation or the cornerstone of this European project. Because exactly as a house, the house might look very nice outside, but if you take the foundation out, the house is going to collapse. Same with a tree. The tree can look gigantic. If you cut the roots, the tree is going to die. It's the same with the European project. So it's our duty. This is how we envisioned it.
So to summarize this anniversary of the Nicaean Council, which is very clearly the first Christian congregation,
gathering,
gathering, it would be a perfect time and the perfect anniversary to remind the European institutions of the values that the European continent and civilization has been based upon, and upon which it has also been reconciled after the Second World War and the damages.
Exactly. And what I also want to point out, this is a matter of culture, not a matter of faith. Faith, it's a private matter. If you privately want to believe in whatever you want to believe, you have the right to do so, and nobody's going to persecute you in Europe. But we cannot deny the cultural fact,
the cultural roots,
that this faith, this personal faith, produced a lot of good results culturally, historically, literally, on many domains. That's what we are trying to do.
Ondřej, what are the reasons why you have signed or why you have become a signatory of this letter to Ursula von der Leyen?
This is very important. The world is changing, and in order not to get lost, we need to know who we are and where do we come from. And Christianity is the basis of our ethics, of our legal systems, of our systems of governance. We will need to go in future to various other cultures and to work with them, to respect each other. We will need to go to Muslims, to communists, to Buddhists, to Hindus. But in order to be respected, we must be aware of our own cultural heritage, because if it is in yourself, you will be respected. So this is why it is good to remember that we have a tradition much older than the 70 or 80 years of European communities, which goes centuries behind us, and which is the basis of everything we are doing from philosophy to law. I'm a lawyer myself, and it is sometimes said, Juristen böse Christen in German. The lawyers are bad Christians because we tend to examine all rules. But in the end, every legal decision, every legal principle is firmly based in Christianity, Christian philosophy, Christian ethics. And especially in hard times, we went through, and Cristian had a very good guidance in this during COVID times. We need to work with the Christian values of personal autonomy, of service to the community, and balance these principles so that we achieve good results, acceptable results for the community. It happened that some people thought that the God is dead and replaced the God with a man or with some administration or some government. And then they replace the man with some ambiguous nature to which we have to serve in the Green Deal. But this is a heretic approach. And Christianity teaches us two things. One of them, that the earth is to be administered by people because it was given to us by God. But on the other hand, we are mere administrators, not owners, and we should not destroy it. And this is a much better starting point, much better ethical approach than what we hear in the European Parliament sometimes.
Sure, politics and lawmaking is a very practical exercise, a very pragmatic exercise, but without a compass and without foundations, you lose the sense and the reason for exercising either politics or lawmaking. But what really struck me is you have mentioned in 2019 Ursula von der Leyen's address to the Parliament before she asked for the votes, and that's
one of the reasons why I did not vote for her in 2019. This was before the pandemic.
Yes, and
when I heard her saying that, they just, raised an immediate flag.
What really puzzles me, because I mean, the Roman law and the Greek philosophy being the fundamentals and leaving out the Christian heritage and the Christian roots, is that Ursula von der Leyen herself hails from the political family that Schuman, De Gasperi, and Adenauer hail from, the EPP, the European, the Christian Democratic.
Well, they were not EPP back then.
Well, right? it was not called DPP, but they are kind of like the
Christian Democrats,
legal successors of the movement, so to speak. And it just makes me wonder how far this movement has veered off the original principles. Now, how many people have signed this letter that you have initiated? Do you know how many?
20, perhaps even more.
Less than 40, for sure.
Less than 40, but it has been sent off to
the whole Parliament.
Or to the whole Parliament. Now, what do you expect? What is the next step? It has been submitted to Ursula von der Leyen. The year is still, there are a good few months ahead of us until 2017. What do you expect from Ursula von der Leyen in response to your... Is there an obligation for her to respond, or is it just... courtesy call?
Usually what it's happening, if there's a behind-the-scenes agreement between certain MEPs and Ursula, they are just creating the occasion, so to speak, with such a letter for Ursula to act in a certain way. If there's no previous agreement, you can have 300 signatures and nothing happens. We voted in the plenary of the European Parliament, for example, urging, asking, calling for the European Commission to publicize the contracts that they sign with the pharmaceutical companies, for the anti-COVID-19 vaccines, and they haven't published that yet.
It still hasn't happened
yet. So we did that kind of through a legal procedure, parliamentarian procedure. In other instances, 10 MEPs are signing a letter calling for whatever, putting a certain flag somewhere, right? And then that happens. So Ursula will do whatever she considers to be doing.
But
the most important thing is, what do we as Christians do?
Well, that's my question.
That's the thing.
What is there? What instrument is there for an MEP to follow up and to pressurize Ursula von der Leyen to hear this message?
Well, basically, political speech. There are many members of European Parliament who call themselves Christians even from the EPP party, Ursula von der Leyen's party. So they should be true to what they are saying. And there is no reason to deny the importance of Christianity, and no reason to not make 2027 this important year. But we will see if there are some values still left in these people and in Ursula von der Leyen, if they are pure administrators.
Great. Then we will just have to wait. I mean, we will follow up on this and see if there is a response from Ursula von der Leyen to this request. And if there will be, then I'm sure we will be following it up with a discussion with the two of you.
We will do our part here to make sure that this Christian values are fought for and promoted here, respected and defended. But it's also very important for people who are watching this interview to really understand that the decision is in their hands, because it's very important who do they vote for and send here in the European Parliament. Because either Brussels or Strasbourg, or in many instances, is very, very far away from the national countries. And many people think, well, these MEPs are so far away, whatever they do over there is not impacting me in Romania or in Cyprus or in Greece or God knows where. But that's totally false. Whatever we do here, it's impacting not only the life of our constituents in our own countries, but the lives of all the EU citizens. So it's important who do they vote for and send here in the European Parliament. If they send people who do not care about their heritage, about their past, about their roots, in this case, the Christian roots and stuff, then we will have a Europe where the fundamental rights of the Europeans will not matter anymore, exactly like it happened during the Roman time or the Greek time, right? So we need to put back in office people who really fear, so to speak, God, in a sense that they realize that besides their voters, there's a higher authority above them that they have to, be accounted to. And I think if we would have more such MEPs here in the Parliament, we would have better laws, better regulations, better directives, and a better Europe. Despite the fact that we are not done many yet, the most important fact right now is for us to keep this fight on, because it's exactly like a light, right? Doesn't matter how small the light is, as long as you have a light, it's always lighting in darkness. So we have to be that light here to make sure that we give a sense to this fight and we inspire more Europeans, more voters in Europe to really understand what is going on here and then vote accordingly.
Thank you for the conclusion of this discussion. And I might add that the European Christian Political Party is the framework within which the Christian values are being channeled into the discussion and the discourse here in the European institutions and the European Parliament. Thank you very much for your time. And if there's going to be any development on this letter, then I'm sure we will have a second round of this discussion. But thank you very much for your time.